One of the most beneficial things that I have discovered when studying at the Islamic University of Medina is something known as Sababul Khilaf. Sababul Khilaf basically means the reason why people differ. Once we identify the exact reason why people differ and the exact cause of differing, it allows a person to discuss a topic with more productivity. So we don't discuss things that we agree on, we only focus on that which we differ on. So in this particular situation, we know what time daytime is. It's very clear when the sun is in the sky. There's no two people who differ on the daytime. And likewise, no two people differ on the definition of nighttime. We all know what nighttime is, when there is absolutely no effect of the sun on the atmosphere. However, what we do differ on are what's known as the twilight, the moment of the night where the sun has disappeared from the sky, but it still has an effect on the atmosphere. So we have the astronomical twilight, as you mentioned in the previous video, and the only reason why we want to mention it here is to identify who the astronomical twilight was for. As you can see from the name, it's for the astronomers. For those who observe the stars, the astronomical twilight is the moment of time where observing certain stars is obscured by the little bit of sunlight that is affecting the horizon. The nautical twilight, on the other hand, deals with sailors. Sailors use this moment of the time to navigate throughout the seas. It is a time when they can see the horizon. As for civil twilight, then that is for literally the general civilians. It's a time when you no longer need to use artificial lighting to do your everyday work on the outside. Do any of the above fit Fajr? So we wanted to use the idea of crowd wisdom. Wisdom of the crowd refers to a weird phenomena whereby individuals are unable to guess things correctly, like guess the amount of jelly beans in a container or guess the weight of a cow. But collectively, if you average out the suggestions and guesses of a large number of people, you would find that, funnily enough, the average is quite accurate. So we figured if we got a recording of the sunrise and we got a large enough base of people to make a guess of what they think Fajr is after they've learned what Fajr is from the text, hopefully we should get to something which resembles the true Fajr. Please refer to the link below, which gives more detail about wisdom of the crowd. So on the first day, we had the earliest time. From the suggestions that was given to us, this image shows us the earliest time anyone felt that Fajr came in. This corresponds to the 4th of July. So as you can see here, we see some faint thing in the horizon, but as you would see, this is what we call Noctilucent clouds. Please refer to the previous video about Noctilucent clouds. This image highlights the latest time a person gave when they felt Fajr came in. Very strongly, we can see a wavy, wispy kind of cloud. Looks like almost like a tail of a fox. This is what we call Noctilucent clouds. That's when the sun, the rays of the sun, reflect on ice crystals in space. But if you look at the average, this image indicates the average time that we can see when Fajr came in, or when people felt Fajr came in. Same thing on the second day. There's not much in the horizon, but we can see a little bit of Noctilucent clouds coming up. And remember, these clouds are not in our atmosphere, they're actually above our atmosphere, they're in space. And this is the latest time that anyone ever gave when Fajr came in, at 3:24. However, this was the time when Fajr came in according to the average. So on the third day, which was the 14th of July, this was the earliest time that anyone ever gave on felt for Fajr came in. And this was the latest time that anyone felt that Fajr came in. So based on all the data that we had collected, this was the average time when Fajr comes in. And on the final day that we had good footage, this was the earliest time anyone determined or decided Fajr came in. And this was the latest time anyone decided Fajr came in. And as you can see here, we have a quite wide range of times, and we can look at each individual time and each individual picture and see, well, why did they feel that Fajr coming in at this time? From the earlier pictures, you can see that maybe they felt that the appearance of the Noctilucent clouds was when Fajr came in. But if you look at the average, we can see what looks like the appearance of Fajr on the horizon. So looking at the data, and when we say day 1, 2, 3, and 4, we don't literally mean Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We mean literally the A day, and then another day, and then another day. Between each day was probably about a week. So based on averages, we had 248, 248, 302, 336. But if you compare that to Masjid 1, I'm not going to name the masjid, but any masjid has used a particular timing. And you notice here, it almost corresponds exactly, with only a few minutes out. So this is very compelling evidence and information about the wisdom of the crowd. That if you give people enough information about what Fajr looks like, and you show them this horizon, they will be able to come to a good conclusion. Masjid number 2 based their calculations on the idea that Fajr comes in at 18 degrees. And Masjid number 3, their times came in a bit later. So if you look at the data here, we see that one masjid kind of corresponds exactly to the average given by people's estimation. We have Masjid number 2, which is well off in terms of the time. You almost have 2 hours out from the average or the collective average. And the third one is about half an hour later than the collective average. So focusing on the collective average, this corresponds almost exactly to the nautical twilight when that comes in. So we can see here that literally the collective average corresponds almost identically to when the nautical twilight comes in. Now, observation to be noted here is that the average on day 4 is slightly later than the nautical twilight, about 10 minutes later. And we observe and we suspect that maybe the reason for that was because there was a slight cloud cover during that time. So possibly the spreading of the light in the horizon was slightly obscured. However, comparing the average to Masjid number 2, we see almost 2 hours out, with day number 4 being more than 2 hours earlier than the collective average. But we see that the reason for Masjid number 2 is because they have based their times on the astronomical twilight. The astronomical twilight, as you can see here, during day 1, 2, and 3 was perpetual. There was no actual night time in London. However, when there was an actual night time, then they reverted to the time of the astronomical twilight at 1:32 exactly. So according to Masjid number 2, what would you actually see in the horizon according to their times? This is over half an hour after they said Fajr comes in. They believe that Fajr comes in at 1:04 and this is 1:43. Almost an hour later and almost an hour and a half later. As you can see here, there's a slight appearance of the Noctilucent clouds, but you should ignore all Noctilucent clouds because they are not actually in our atmosphere and they are phenomena that only occur in certain parts of the northern hemisphere and not all year round. Day number 2, half an hour after the time they believe that the Fajr comes in, an hour after the Fajr comes in, according to them, and they see an appearance of Noctilucent clouds. And one of my most favorite pictures of all, when the Noctilucent clouds really becomes apparent here. If you look and observe the horizon, there actually isn't a light in the horizon. The light actually is from those clouds. Day number 3, we're looking at half an hour later, just shy of an hour later, and almost an hour and a half later. So in an hour and a half, almost nothing is visible in the horizon. And day number 4, slightly later, over an hour later. So what do we say next? After we've analysed what we actually seen and the times that were given, what do we say next? Let's have a brief review, a quick look at some of the evidences that we mentioned before, just citing them so that we can remind ourselves what we are supposed to be looking for. كلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود من الفجر. Eat and drink until you see the white thread of the dawn become distinct from the black thread of night. So it needs to be a white thread and a black thread and a distinction between the night and the day. Eat and drink until you see it spread across the horizon of the sky. So we need to have a spreading of the light across the horizon, not just an appearance of light, but a spreading. A person said, eat unless you have doubt. So Ibn Abbas said to him, verily, this man who said this statement didn't say anything. Rather, eat while you're in doubt if Fajr does come in, until you no longer have doubt. Aoun ibn Abdullah said that 2 men entered unto Abu Bakr's residence. while he was eating his suhoor, one of them said, the Fajr has come, while the other said, the Fajr has not come. So Abu Bakr said, eat as both of you have differed. So you can see here that when Fajr actually comes in, it's something that no two people differ in. On the authority of Makhul, who said, I saw Ibn Umar take a bucket of Zamzam water and said to two men, has Fajr come in? And one of them said, yes, while the other said no. So he drank. Because they didn't agree, he continued eating. On the authority of Ibn Abbas, who requested from the two young boys while he was in the home of Hani during the month of Ramadan, and he was eating suhoor. So one said, Fajr has appeared, while the other said, no, it hasn't. So Ibn Abbas said, give me something to drink. So because they didn't agree, he didn't consider it Fajr. Al-Hasan was asked by a man saying, should I eat while I have doubt? So Al-Hasan replied, eat what you are doubtful about, because there is no hide in the light of dawn. So if you have doubt that it's Fajr, that's probably because it isn't Fajr. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak. Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen highlighted a very important principle about this topic and said that if it's night time and we know it's night time, it will remain hukman, and as in terms of Islamic legislation, it will remain night time until you have equal surety of daytime. And likewise, if it's daytime, it will remain daytime until you have equal surety that the sun has set. So in that, when it comes to fasting, you remain in the state you are sure on, and you ignore the states that you are not sure on. So if it comes to eating suhoor, you continue eating suhoor until you have no doubt that the time of suhoor has ended. So what is this 18 degrees and where did it come from? Well, like I said, 18 degrees is a consideration for astronomers, not for Islam. Yes, the sun does begin to affect the horizon, or the atmosphere, I should say, at 18 degrees, but is that the consideration of the companions? Is that what the Messenger of Allah said we should look for? Or did he say to look for when the white light or the light of the sun spreads across the horizon? This is the consideration we need to think about. So from what we've seen, I can't see how the description of Fajr fits in with the 18 degrees idea. Now, if the light spread across the horizon during 18 degrees, I'll say yes. But it's because on observation, we don't see that. It's hard to accept that as being the correct understanding, and Allah knows best. We always say that up north, they have no night time, or they have no Isha time, or they have no Fajr. But exactly what time is that? So we wanted to have a look at that and see. So here is a graph, and as you can see here, this light side is the daytime by consensus. Everyone knows it's daytime. This time is nighttime by consensus. No one denies that it's nighttime. But we have these little bands here. This first band is the astronomical twilight. The second band is the nautical twilight, and this third band is the civil twilight. All those locations in that area observe those particular types of twilight. And if you look at England, this is the longest time of the year in June, 21st of June. There is a part of England that is engulfed in nautical twilight, and there's a part that is engulfed in astronomical twilight. So that area which is engulfed in astronomical twilight 24/7, they actually do have a Fajr and a correct suhoor. They actually do have a nighttime that is considered that we can pray and eat and do suhoor. But above that line, they have perpetual daytime, and the sun doesn't go low enough for there to actually be a true Fajr. So let's have a look at that throughout the year. So as you can see, the sun moves across the earth, and all those areas where the astronomical twilight does not touch, they'll never actually have a true Fajr. It will have to be estimated. But below that, they will always have a true Fajr. So where do we draw the line? So if you look at the map, when we looked at the times throughout the year, we found the line will be about here. So everything below that line will always have a Fajr as normal, a particular time. They will always have a night time which is sufficient enough to have a correct Fajr. And if you look at this map, Manchester, Leeds, they always have at some point of the year a night time. But above that, like Newcastle upon Tyne, Middlesbrough, there are, even if it's just 3 days of the year, where they actually have perpetual daytime or daylight. So above that line, we will discuss that in another video. But below that line, they will always have a time where Fajr comes in. We've looked at the Islamic text and what it says about the true Fajr and how it should look like. We've looked at the companions and how they behaved towards the Fajr. We've looked at pictures describing the nautical twilight, the astronomical twilight, and so that we can compare between what we see and the actual text. And with that, we hope that you've learned enough information to make educated guesses as to what is the correct Fajr and what is the incorrect Fajr. We believe that by using the wisdom of the crowd, we've come to our conclusion as to when the correct Fajr comes in and what timetables is actually too early or too late. And in the spirit of the wisdom of the crowd, we've got a little competition here. We've got a jar of Starburst, which is called the Starburst Challenge. We want you to guess how many Starbursts are in this jar. Those who are within a certain range of the correct result will be placed into a prize draw and you'll be eligible to win £100 in Amazon vouchers. So please refer to the description below for details on how to enter this competition. Please subscribe and like this video and share with your friends. And we hope you enjoyed this video. Have a nice Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.